My name is Cheyenne Seeley, and this is my final project for Professor Brittany Estes. It's a lecture video over Transcendentalism. So through the course of the semester, we've studied how literature has evolved from Puritanism to the Enlightenment to Romanticism and then into Transcendentalism. And we've watched how the pieces of literature have become more intellectual and have really evolved, not just evolved, but how they've connected back with our history and how they kind of give us a better understanding of what our ancestors were going through during that point in time, and it really helps us understand and feel the things that they were feeling. So if you look up Transcendentalism in the dictionary for the literal definition, it is a philosophy which says that thought and spiritual things are more real than ordinary human experience and material things. And that's pretty true, because when you seek out spiritually, it gives you a new hope and something to believe in. Whereas thought also gives you that more concrete evidence and logical support behind it. Whereas experience, a human experience and material things, that saying is, money doesn't buy you happiness, and that's true. You're only as rich as you want to be. So the topic that I have chosen is resistance to civil government. And through this piece, I'm going to explain how not only does this piece of writing explain, or not only does this piece of writing go back to the very basics of America, but also how not only does this go back to the very basics of America and what the Founding Fathers hoped for our future, but also how this still applies today, and how how the whole idea revolves around Transcendentalism. So, it's no secret that when America was first created, in a sense, when people first started coming over here, it was because of religious persecution. And our founding fathers, during the time that they were writing the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the Mayflower Compact and all of these, pieces of literature that dictate our government, they wanted us to be a country based on absolute freedom. And it says one of the biggest lines that sticks out in this piece to me is, the government itself, which is only the mode which the people have chosen to execute their will, is equally liable to be abused and perverted before the people can act through it. So basically what he's saying is that when the government acts perverted, the people have the right to overthrow that government. So here he's being very intellectual and very pay attention to what the government is doing, because if you don't, they're going to step out of their boundaries, because they don't have those boundaries there. So he's telling us to be more responsible and to be more thoughtful with our government, that we do have a duty as citizens to this country. And that leads me into my next point of how this applies to today, because it's still true. The next line he says in here is, how does it become a man to behave towards this American government today? I answer that he cannot without disgrace be associated with it. I cannot for an instant recognize that political organization as my government, which is the slave's government also. So what he's saying here is that slavery is wrong. I mean, that's the very basics of what he's saying. But also in that he's saying that with a country based on absolute freedom, how is it that we can enslave people? And at this point, about 1/6 of the population was slaves here in America. How is it that we can agree with that? How is it that of a country based on absolute freedom, how is it okay that we allow this to happen? And again, this goes back to the intellectual and being more responsible and being more thoughtful with our government. If we allow the government to continue to do this, that is what they are going to continue to do. We need to stand up and we need to revolt. And now, finally, the whole story talks about Transcendentalism. The whole idea is based off of it. The very last line in this piece is probably one of my absolute most favorite lines, because it really is a line that makes you think and makes you really wonder exactly what it is that you can do differently. So he says in here, a state which bore this kind of fruit and suffered it to drop off as fast as it ripened would prepare the way for its still more perfect and glorious state, which also I have imagined, but not yet anywhere seen. So when he says not yet anywhere seen, you know, that kind of makes you wonder to yourself, what am I doing to help this country? What am I doing to make a difference? So he's challenging you to become more logical, not just even logical, but to become more, to think things out more, to take more responsibility, and to be more intellectual with not even just necessarily the government, but with everything that's going on in general. And that, I mean, that really concludes this video. This truly has been one of my favorite units to go through, because it really has made me think, and it really has made me kind of see what is it that I'm doing differently, or what is it that I can do differently to help make a difference. And whether it's a difference in the government or a difference in just everyday life, it really makes you remember what, and again, going back to the definition, the literal definition, it says, oh, well, I've lost it now. A philosophy which says that thought and spiritual things are more real than ordinary human experience and material things. It really, Transcendentalism really makes you realize how good life is.